Describe your first time in a Formula One car.
Unreal. Just the grip, the feel, the handling, the G-forces, how quickly the car stops when you brake. Just like at least double from what you can experience in pretty much anything else. I didn't come from wealthy family or mega sponsors, and I couldn't just throw in the cash. So the key for me was to win every category.
What was your first race and how'd you go?
First race was in 1996. I became third. I was very pissed. I was sad. Like, I wanted to win. I was almost like addicted. How can I get my lap times better? How can I be faster?
Nico Rosberg wins the world title and retires, and your world gets turned upside down.
Immediately with the news, I called Toto, like everyone did. That was kind of the moment that every driver dreams of. Get a chance to get into a winning car. Nothing is good except winning. That was everyone's mentality. With that, there comes the pressure. They expect everyone in the team, especially the drivers, to deliver every single week.
The world of F1 hadn't seen anyone dominate Lewis in the same car like that before.
It was my best race of my career so far.
Okay.
Because of the frustration from the year before, which is one of my toughest seasons. I think all that negativity, almost the anger, came into this positive energy that I could use in a good way. It's been a good ride. I can be proud. Well, it's not quite done yet.
Well, as a massive Formula One fan, this is a treat for me and the Howie Games. This man, born in Finland, almost Australian resident these days, 10-time winner, 2-time Formula One runner-up, 20 poles, and a popular character around the world in motorsport and life now in Australia. His name is Valtteri Bottas. He joins us on the Howie Games from South Australia. Valtteri, great to see you. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful to have you on. Of all those things I just listed, what I didn't list, Valtteri, which will surprise you, for a man from southern Finland, and I looked up where you're from, and it's only a small place, which I want to ask you about, but for a man from southern Finland, the amount of requests I get from the audience to get you on this show in Australia is there's a lot of love for you in Australia, Valtteri.
Yeah, actually, I've noticed that, I've felt very welcome coming here. And it feels like every year that I come back, it's like, more and more. So it's very cool. You know, everyone knows I love the lifestyle. I'm rocking the mullet as well and the moustache. I've done some ads with some local companies and stuff like that. So, you know, it's, and my partner is from Adelaide Hills. So, kind of half Aussie, you would say.
I think at least half Aussie. I was looking, I've
Yeah.
been delving deep into your life in the last 24 hours. I've been watching your Uber ads, which really entertain me. But then I looked at a clip on your Insta of you and Tiffany, your partner. You're driving out in the middle of somewhere and you're relaying your Aussie conversation back and forth. And it made me laugh. You've got a good grasp of the lingo, Valtteri.
Yeah, you know, I've been trying to learn Australian, so there's still almost every day new word or lingo pops up. But I think I'm getting there step by step. You know.
And what is it about? I'll ask you. I'll tell you why I think Australians are really warm to you. But what is it about Australia, the culture, the country, and the people that you've obviously got a real affection for now?
I think better question is what I do not like about Australia. So I really love everything. You know, there's obviously I have to say I've only been here in the summer and autumn. I've never experienced the winter, especially in South Australia. But for me, it's just the F1 break that always is like January or even until early Feb. It's just for me the best place to go during that time because you can get so far away from Europe, like nobody bothers you during the day with the phone, and of course my partner wants to visit the family, and that's how I just got to learn Australia. And every year I love to discover more, see new places. You know, I just love the culture. It's very very laid back, chilled, good sense of humor. You know, great food, great beaches, great wine, you know, you name it. But things I do not like are some of the animals that always want to kill you. But so far, I'm still alive. So
What's the one animal that freaks you?
sharks, great white sharks. Yeah, you know, it's not my thing, but so far so good. And some of the snakes as well. You know, I'm not really comfortable when I get close with them because I cycle quite a bit and I do some gravel riding everywhere. And yeah, I guess you know that in the bush you do encounter with a snake every now and then.
Well, where you are, South Australia, there's some serious sharks down there, like down Port Lincoln Way and stuff. I did investigate a bit. I love to surf, and I saw you've had a couple of cracks at surfing, but it seemed to be more in wave pools. Have you had a surf in South Australia? Because some magnificent waves there, but again, some big sharks, Valtteri.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've had a couple of surfs this time, and one was close to Streaky Bay
Oof.
the day after there was a shark attack. So that was nerve-wracking. But yeah, it was called the Surfers Beach. So yeah, kind of just a little bit south of Streaky Bay. But yeah, it was beautiful. But yeah, I was a bit nervous. And then actually at one point we saw a fin. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gone. But it was a dolphin, so all good, all good.
One of the reasons you're on here, and I got so many questions for you, is to talk about the Race of Champions, which first time it's been in the Southern Hemisphere. It's on at a core stadium, 7th and 8th of March. There's all sorts of tickets available, including a chance to sit in with the drivers if you've got the big bucks. I've watched this a few times, and then it had a bit of a spell during COVID. So explain the concept a little bit, some of the other drivers that are in there, because everyone that asked me about Formula One, they're like, well, why don't they all just get in the same car so we can see who's the best driver? Which is part of F1 is the technical capabilities of the sport, but Race of Champions pretty much seems, from what I can see, to provide that platform.
Pretty much. It's first of all, it's a lot of fun. Like everyone, yes, attends, they want to do well, but at the same time, all the drivers from all different categories, they are just really united, having a fun weekend, racing each other. So basically, you're racing different kind of cars, always two at a time against each other on a track, and yeah, it's gonna be on a stadium at the old big stadium in Sydney, and it's gonna be good to watch because all the people watching they can see the whole track and every heat, driver versus driver at the same time. So it's really spectator friendly thing. And yeah, because you have so many different kind of cars, you have some buggies, you've got some rally cars, some road cars, stuff like that. So it's pretty good in separating who's got the wide range of driving skills. So that's why sometimes a rally driver might win, sometimes a Formula One driver or an ex Formula One driver might win. Sometimes, some of the stunt guys like Travis Pastrana, he could do well.
Mm.
It's really really interesting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've only done it once. That was in Sweden 2 years ago, which was on ice. So naturally, in that event, all the rally guys they were on top of their game.
As a young man, when I was working on the Formula One circuit, I need you to explain this to me as a Scandinavian. Uh, yeah, I think the second season I did at 1998, Bernie Ecclestone was the boss, and as well as F1, he bought the F1. He bought the World Rally Championship for a season. So I went to the first rally of the season in Sweden. It was near Gothenburg, and it was February. And Valtteri, I have never been so freaking cold in my life. Yet you'd set up the camera and stand with the cameraman, and there'd just be these blokes drinking beers, literally sitting in the snow, watching these cars race past. And I was like, well, there's a passion for motorsport that I haven't seen before.
There is, the northern countries, they love motorsports. And yeah, I've experienced the Arctic Rally in the north of Finland a couple of times. And it is cold. And yeah, the spectators, they are very committed, they might set up a fire, do a bit of a cook snack on a barbie and have some vodka to keep warm. So it's so different to like yeah, for me that's actually one part why I love Australia because it's like the opposite of Finland in a way, especially if you compare the winter time. So, but it's great fun. Like ice racing is fun.
What is cold to you when you say, yeah, the Arctic Rally, it's cold? At what temperature do you start to think, oh, she's a bit chilly? Or as my dad would say, is a bit parky. There's an expression for you in Australianism. When it gets cold, you say, oh,
Yeah,
it's a bit parky.
yeah. For me, that threshold is about like -25 to -30. If it gets
Jeez.
more than that, then you actually struggle to do outdoor sports and stuff like that. So yeah, you still can, but it's not as enjoyable. But anything less than -20 or warmer than -20, you're still good to go. So no worries.
So it's such a different physical environment that you grew up in. Tell me what it's like as a kid growing up in Finland. Is it Nastola, the name of the town? Have I got the pronunciation right where you're
Yeah,
from?
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's right.
only a little place. What is life like in winter as a young kid in Finland? Because I can't get a concept of it. You're smiling about it, but it's so different to the way we grow up here.
It is, yeah, but it's kind of nice as a kid that we have, yeah, real four seasons, like, and the winter is pretty solid. Nowadays in the southern Finland, it's a bit more hit and miss. But yeah, when I was a kid, it was always guaranteed, even in the south of Finland. Yeah, you do winter sports, you do cross country skiing, you play ice hockey. Almost everybody plays ice hockey. That's even one of the school sports that we did. And yeah, there was a small ski resort like 15 minutes away. So I used to do snowboarding, and normal commute to the school never changed. I always would either take my bicycle, even in the winter, or just walk. That doesn't change. In the end, it's all about the clothing. If you get good clothes, you just get on with it. But the more I'm out of Finland, and when I go back in the winter, what I struggle is the light, because we are so north that in the summer it's almost like 24 hours of daylight, but in the winter it's the opposite. So you only get few hours of daylight, and
So
that's,
how do you deal
yeah,
with that?
that's,
That sounds tough. I found in the UK when it'd get dark at 4 in the arvo and get light at 9 in the morning, that affected me physically,
yeah.
mentally. But that's a lot different to what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's tough, but you get used to it. So yeah, I mean, you have less time to do stuff outside, but yeah, Finnish people and homes, they got pretty good lighting systems because of that. So like outdoor lights, indoor lights, you've got good setup. So you're trying to kind of trick your brain that you still have some light, but it's tough. Like I must admit that now I try to choose the right times to go in Finland.
Yeah.
And if I go in the winter, it's normally for like a week, maximum 2 weeks. So
You're a man of many talents. Brett Murray, Crusher, the man who'd organised this, he said, "Oh, Valtteri's making wine at the moment, so he's been making wine. What is going on? I want to talk to you about your gin at some stage, but you got your own wine
yeah.
range as well. You're physically making wine, mate."
Yeah, so we couple of weeks ago we launched the edition two of my wine. The wine is called Ihana, which means lovely or wonderful in Finnish, and it's made in McLaren Vale, South Australia, by Oliver's Taranga, and the winemaker is Corina Bright. Yeah, she's very experienced, talented winemaker, and just my love for the Aussie wines, especially South Australian wines, came to the point that I had to do something, and here we are. Now we've been working this week for the edition three, so did some blending yesterday. Yeah, been able to get my hands dirty, help at the winery, drive some forklifts. Yeah, last year I did some picking. Um, so yeah, I love it. So but it's very limited. It's only 5,000 bottles worldwide every year. So it's just really sharing passion.
And the gin, which is called Oath. Now, I rarely swear on this podcast, but tell me it's Oath after fucking Oath.
You know, you mean?
Yes, Ken Oath. So it
Yeah,
is named Oath
yeah.
after Ken Oath.
And, I mean, well, we did know all the twists you can do with the name, but oath for ideally we would have had the name called Sisu, which is in Finnish. It's like this kind of willpower, mental power. But then we want something strong. Obviously, the Sisu was heavily trademarked, so we had to come up with something else. And oath is kind of like a promise, but you can also play with it. Bloody oath, can oath, so on. Um, and the gin, it's a company of me and Tiffany, and we've got two business partners, and we just launched in Australia as well. So now it's available finally in Australia. But yeah, so it's distilled with oats. That's why also it is included in the name, so it kind of makes sense. And spiced with apple peels, which is kind of the Tiffany's side of the gin, because she's from the Adelaide Hills, which is known for the apples.
So if you're standing up in front of a group of people that have got now 60 gins to choose from, give me your best pitch for 30 seconds why I should be drinking Oath as opposed to what else is out there, Valtteri.
All right, 30 seconds. Finland has the purest water in the world, and it's made in Finland. So that's why, because in distilling, water makes a big difference. So that's one. We've got some amazing botanicals in Finland, and we've got a story between me and Tiffany. We wanted to have a perfect gin and trying to combine Finland and Australia in a bottle. And I think that's what we've done.
Geez, you're good. That's a good pitch. I'm in. I'm in. So where would I buy it? Is there a website? How do I get my hands on it, Valtteri?
Yeah, it's pretty easy in Australia now. So oathgin.com, and then there's Australian shop on the site. Or if you're in South Australia, in Hahndorf, our distributor is Ambleside Distillers. So you can even, if you want to go there, and you can try it before you want to buy it. So,
And just while we're talking about food and drink, what's the one Australian food that you've gone? And I know you're
sausage
disciplined.
sizzle.
Sausage sizzle.
Yeah, man. Sausage sizzle. I could do it every day.
So, mate, tell me. Like I looked at the history of Formula One, and it looked like Finland had what's the population like? Just under 6 million, like five and a half, five,
Yeah,
6 million people.
5.6, yeah, 5.6, something like that. Yeah.
Yet you've produced nine Formula One drivers. There's you and Kimi, and obviously Mika's won a couple of world titles, and Heike and Mika Salo and Leto, and back to Keke Rosberg. What is it about your uh, upbringing in Finland? To describe me the love of motorsport, because again, a lot of our Australian audience will have no understanding of life in Finland. Why is this small country able to produce so many good F1 drivers, relatively population-wise?
It's been part of the culture since long time, like any kind of motorsports, whether it's about motocross, motorbikes, rallying, especially is big, go-karting, very popular. And I think also because we've had Formula One drivers since the 80s. So, you've always got those heroes that you look up to and motivates you. And for me, that guy was Mika Häkkinen.
Yeah.
And because of the culture from long time, the level in the example, the national championship of go-karting is really high. So if you do well in Finland, once you start traveling to other countries in Europe, you naturally are going to be at the top because the level is so high. And yeah, just the competition and stuff. So, and I think we've got a few loose screws probably up there. So we don't really mind the speed or getting a bit of sideways action. So
And personalities, I must say, in the past, having the pleasure of interviewing you numerous times when you're at Mercedes in those pre-races at the Australian Grand Prix or post-race qualifying, etc., you were always and have always been a delight to talk to. But your man, Kimi Räikkönen, he is without a doubt the hardest man I've interviewed in 20 years in world sport. Seems like a nice bloke, but doesn't give a great deal away. Is that a bit of a reflection? Is he more your typical Finn, or are you more your typical Finn, or somewhere in between?
I would say he's more a typical Finn.
Is he?
Finns can be very, very reserved. Sometimes, yeah, they don't want to share too much. So actually, sometimes people ask me, "Are you even a Finn?" But yeah, I think for me, it's been the Australian influence. Like I've become much more open and chilled about life and the sport and everything than before. Like even when we met before, when I was in Mercedes,
Yeah,
I was much more reserved and
you were.
very corporate and along the lines. And now I'm kind of a bit more of a free spirit. Obviously, still serious when it comes to racing, but with other stuff, I'm much more laid back, I would say. So
It's a great answer that prompts another question. So I was thinking about this, and you're now a Mercedes Formula One test driver, and I want to get to where you're going in your career from here. So you're back under the Mercedes umbrella. How much do you have to toe the line in Formula One to meet the culture of the team? It seems to me in the last few years, Lewis was given a lot more rein, and you were given a lot more rein. But those 2016, 17, 18 areas of Mercedes, that was full corporate. Full corporate, it seemed
yeah,
from the outside looking in.
yeah, I would say so. Obviously, we're talking about big companies with proper board that forms the leadership of of the team and big brands, and branding is important. So there are definitely certain guidelines that you got to follow. I mean, there's always some kind of flexibility, but yeah, some things are just a no-go with big companies, and that's something when I went from Mercedes to Sauber, that was quite different. Like Sauber is much smaller team. It's not a car manufacturer, so I think I had, yeah, obviously with certain things much more freedom. So I could actually, yeah, set up the gin company with my girlfriend, which I could have not before.
Mm.
I could get involved in wine and stuff like that, which with other companies that could be bit more tricky. But everyone at Mercedes, they've got to know me now. I've explained, okay, I've got this and this and this. What can I promote? What I can't? What are the guidelines? And we're on the same page. So I'm pretty chill that it's not gonna be like I gotta cut my mullet or anything. So all good.
Is in the contract no mullet cutting? Have you said to Toto,
No,
I'm not
yeah,
cutting it or
yeah.
not?
No, he did say you can keep your mullet, and he said I actually kind of like it. So
Of course he does. I can see him in
yeah.
one. So, mate, what's your first entry into motorsport? How old are you, and How do you get into it? Is it a relative? Is it a mate, a parent? What is it that gets you in for the first time?
Mine was kind of an accident. I was 5 years old with my dad. We were just going from Nastola to city of Lahti, which is 15 minutes away. And there was a sign that there was a go-kart race, like a national go-kart championship. And we didn't even know what is karting really. So went to have a look. Apparently, it was the first 3 hours of my life that I was sitting still and just watching something.
Wow.
And for me, it was just so cool, And then obviously I had to go and try one at the local club. And once eventually I did, that was it. I knew that, okay, that's my goal in life. I want to get into Formula One. I want to win races. And there you go. So
What
yeah,
what
I was
was
like
it,
five, 6 when everything started.
and what was it that grabbed you from a kid that obviously didn't sit still when you got in that cart for the first time that it made you think, right, this is my life direction?
Initially, it was the speed, just the feeling of the speed. I never experienced anything like that. Then pretty quickly, or from there, it was the control that you can actually be in control of, a vehicle. You can do your own thing. And luckily, quite soon, I realized the importance of how to get your lap times better. So that became, I would say, that competition and competitive side became then more important. So how can I be faster? So I was almost like addicted every time we got back. How can I get my lap times better? So that was kind of the addiction for me.
And what's your memory of a first race? In your mind, what was your first race and how'd you go?
First race was in 1996 in at the local track in Lahti, Finland.
So how
I
old are you at
It
this
was kind of
stage?
like 6 years
Right,
old,
right, right.
and it was like a regional championship, something like this, just like one race. And I became third, and I was very pissed. I was sad. Like I wanted to win, obviously, but still podium on my first race. But yeah, because I was so kind of angry that I didn't win, then I practiced a lot the weeks after, and then the next race I won. So that was cool.
So how does it progress? You said you came third and came first. At what age, without being, and you're obviously a modest man, but at what age do you start to think, I'm actually pretty good at this and maybe I can have some form of future in motorsport?
Yeah, of course, the first years, even though I was kind of serious of trying to improve my lap times, were more like fun. Um, but I did realize there was pretty clear turning point when I was 12 that I realized that, okay, I'm pretty good at this, but it's not easy. And always, if I had some races that I didn't prepare that well, I could see that, yeah, those ones I wouldn't win. But if I prepared and committed 100%, then I would win those. So then, yeah, when I was 12, I kind of started to systematically do physical training, tried to narrow down all the other stuff. I still kind of manage with the school, but just I just started to prioritize everything because I knew that, yeah, if I put everything into this, then there could be a chance. But if I don't do 100%, that's not going to happen. So yeah, when I was 12, that's when it was pretty much all about racing for me. For me,
And what type of commitment, emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially, did you need from your parents?
huge. I come from very normal family in Finland, not rich at all, but um, yeah, we managed. I would say, yeah, very average Finnish family, and my dad was always my mechanic in go-karting. My family, they put financially everything they could, but already from my first season in go-karts, we were always looking for partners and sponsors, and basically me and my dad going to factories, businesses, knocking the door, like, okay, this is going to be a race calendar this year. We need this many tire sets, these kind of spares. That's what it costs. We can put this. Could you please help us with this? And we put your big sticker on the go-kart.
Huh.
So that's how it started. And luckily, we found like some really good committed partners from the local region that actually some of them carried on all the way until Formula One. We have never could have done just within our finance. And also at some point, when the management team stepped in, that was also like they were putting their money as an investment to hopefully get it back one day, and that was like 100% needed. So I think things just obviously we worked hard for it, but things also happened in a way that sometimes you got to be at the right, knocking the right door at the right time, you know. So,
So without going into financial details, because there's different ways to enter Formula One, and there's not a lot discussed about prize money, etc., in Formula One, which I'll get you to. But so you get signed up at what age under a management banner?
so 2007, I believe I signed my first management contract, which at that point I was 18. So
And so they're backing you for the long term. So is it we'll do this for you and help you in this way financially, and then if you start signing contracts, you like how does it work? You give a percentage back, or without giving away numbers or state secrets? Like how does this
yeah,
process
yeah.
work?
So there's different contracts, but quite often is that people will kind of invest in you. Let's say pay
Oh,
for your season or half of your season in Formula 3. But then once you start to earn X amount of money, you got to start paying it back. And
got it.
also with management, normally then there's a commission, not for lifetime, but almost for lifetime. So that's pretty basic thing. So they kind of loan you money, but then if you make it and start to earn, they get it back, and then with the commission with interest. So in the end, it's business, you know. That's how it goes.
I have a 13-year-old son at the moment, and many of our connections are through sport, Valtteri, through playing cricket together or going surfing together or having a kick of the footy together. Is your father still with you? Sorry, I should know the answer to that.
Yeah, yeah. My dad still comes to quite a few races, and yeah.
So, what a way to develop a relationship with your dad as from a young age, traveling to these different places, racing together, him being your mechanic, you going knocking on doors to get sponsors. That's a special relationship.
It is, yeah. We've seen a lot. We, all those trips traveling in the van with the go-kart at the back through pretty much the whole Europe. Yeah, we've experienced all the ups and downs together and the whole journey. I was the first one in the family to get into racing, and he was learning along the way as well. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible what's happened in the last 30 years or so. But yeah, definitely got to know each other pretty well.
So when you start venturing out to Europe and going in these races, and there's more money involved and more sponsorship involved, who was in your general age group? Who was the gun? Who was when you'd get to Spain or Germany or France or wherever? Who was the karter that everyone was like, "Oh, heavens above"? And has that chap kicked on and now a Formula One driver?
I've raced quite a few of the guys who um, has been in Formula One or still are in Formula One. Obviously, as a younger go-karter, you're always looking up to the more experienced guys who are kind of a few years ahead. Um, But I have to say, in my kind of age group, racing kind of my last couple of seasons in go-karting, in the World Championships and stuff like that, Jules Bianchi, he
Uh-huh.
was kind of the guy to beat. Um, Even like then some years earlier, Marcus Ericsson, who's won Indy 500, and he was in Formula One for a while. He was in the Nordic countries. He was the ace at one point, and he also K-Mac, Kevin Magnussen. I've raced go-karts with him. There's quite a few names.
Makes me laugh. He's a star in well, you're all a star in Drive to Survive, but when he had when your man K-Mac had that discussion with Hulkenberg about suck my balls, that is one of the best quotes
Yeah,
I've heard in
it's a good
Formula
one.
One the last 25 years, Valtteri.
Yeah,
Quality stuff. So another thing I was reading, which we don't have here, mandatory military service in Finland. So did you complete that? And what's that all about?
yeah. Everyone has to. All the men, because we are a small country. We've got a quite a big border with, example, Russia.
Yep.
So I think the Finnish military has been always pretty good, I would say, for the size of the country, and it's just part of the culture. But I thought it was really good. For me, it's kind of the point that you become from a boy to a man, and you learn lots of things about teamwork, dealing with people under stress in difficult situations. Um, so yeah, I did it, and yeah, I did it over the winter actually because I was racing. But yeah, good experience all around. Nothing bad to say about that.
How long does it last for you?
So the minimum if you do other stuff, yeah, like me, I was racing and I was in my junior, I think I was racing Formula Renault Formula 3. So they did let me to go to some of the tests, and the minimum you get is 6 months. So that was my time over there. But yeah, learned a lot.
And when you're starting to get in these junior categories, so what's the last category you raced in before you get a call from Williams to potentially become a test driver? What are you racing in at that stage?
So for me, it was GP3, which is nowadays the Formula 3 during the race weekends. So I kind of skipped F2, which was, I would say, a risky move, but I'm glad it worked out because financially would have made yeah, I mean, season in F2 is crazy. It's crazy money. So that's why we kind of wanted to try and skip that and try and get my talent out there before having to spend that basically. So
So just on that, so you're racing GP3. In your day, rough figure, what does it cost? I don't think people have an understanding generally that don't follow
mm.
motorsport about the costs involved. GP3 to run a successful team, what's a general average budget when you're racing in it?
I think nowadays it's a lot more. My GB3 season was 2011.
Yep.
Now, I don't know, maybe it's double or something. But when I was there, it was around 600,000 euros for the full
Wow.
season.
Okay. And what are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you doing well, Valtteri, that eventually means Williams gets in contact with you? Like, what are you doing to stand out from all those other young and aspiring Formula One drivers in Europe and internationally?
I think, yeah, so for me, because I didn't come from, wealthy family or
Mm.
mega sponsors, and I couldn't just throw in the cash. So the key for me was to win every category on year one, or at least, the highlight races. So Formula Renault managed to win the Euro Cup and the Northern European Cup. Formula 3, um, I didn't win the Euro Cup. There was a bit of a engine battle between Volkswagen and Mercedes at that point, and I was with Mercedes, and they were behind. But there was a couple of like key races, like F3 Masters, that I won twice. Apparently, it happened first time ever that you win it in 2 years. And what was the key season in the end was the GP3. To be a rookie and to win it immediately. You know, we knew that if I can do that, then my name is going to pop up, and the teams are going to get even more interested. So that was really I won the series in the last race of the season, and that's when we knew that okay, now we've got a chance to actually get some testing, some practice sessions with Williams and stuff like that, and then in those sessions, going up against the race drivers, I just had to show what I can do, and basically be quicker than them. So
So when's your first time in a Formula One car? And you've talked about watching them from age 6, jumping in one and thinking this is what I want to do. Like, describe the first time, and I can see you smiling about it. Describe your first time in a Formula One car, and how different is it to everything else you've been in to that point?
yeah, first time was only like we did some aero testing on an airfield. Was like straight line. You go up and down with different
Yeah.
settings. So you obviously you get the sense of the speed and the noise, but not really how the car corners. But proper first test was 2011 Abu Dhabi post-season test, and yeah, it was unreal. You can imagine jumping from GB3 to F1 is a big step. So just the grip, the feel, the handling, the G forces, how quickly the car stops when you brake, all these kind of things is like at least double from what you can experience in pretty much anything else. So yeah, that was awesome. But also it was nice to feel that pretty quickly I got comfortable with it, and that's when I knew that I can do this. You know.
So when you're trying to make your way there, and as you say, the only way to get the driver in front of you's job is to be quicker than him. When you're a young fella and you're a test driver and you're getting these opportunities, how do you balance? Like, how hard? Because the worst thing you can do is obviously stick it in the wall. Like, that's a
Yeah.
disaster. So how do you balance wanting to get a really competitive lap time with the fact you're learning on the job, but you need to be quick to get the next opportunity? Like, it's a small window, isn't it?
It's a small window, but I think it's a good test that can you do it or not? This sport is always going to be lots of pressure. You're going to be always put in situations that you're calculating risk. But yeah, for sure, as a rookie, as a newcomer to F1 is even more difficult, and that window is even smaller. But I yeah, I managed to, I don't know if it's the right word, get away with it, that I could push hard and still stay on track, and it worked. So, but yeah, it's fine margins.
So how do you find out that you're going to become a Williams contracted driver? So for the 2013 season, how do you find out? Is it from someone from Williams themselves? Is it through your agent? Is it a phone call? What happens?
Yeah, so it was end of 2011. It was after my test with the team. Um, no, sorry, 2012.
Yeah.
Um, it was 2012 for 2013 season. I think it was like just before the last race, probably. It was, yeah, Toto called me and said he was still at Williams at that point, and he told me, okay, you're driving next year. It is a contract for 1 year, so you got to prove yourself, but there's an option to extend if you do well. Um, that's about it. And first thing, called my dad, called my mom, um, then went back to Finland. So my friends, who were still best friends with the small group, had a bit of a party in a log cabin by the lake in the snow, and yeah, then started preparing for my first year.
What did your dad say? Like, we've heard about what he's done for you and your parents. What did your dad say when you say, "Right, Dad, that's it. I'm in. I'm in the big time."
He sounded pretty chilled. Like I'm sure he was almost in shock, but he sounded pretty chilled, and he said, like, yeah, I knew it's gonna happen one day." So that was cool.
So you've obviously got an enormous connection to Australia, which we've established, but so many careers start in Australia due to the fact that it's typically the first race of the season. What's your memories of the first Formula One race you participated in? Like, doing the drivers' parade or qualifying or seeing other drivers in the flesh, racing against them. What's it like as an inexperienced driver stepping into that absolute pool of sharks?
It's quite nerve-wracking. It's yeah, the whole weekend you're getting used to all the media attention, all the events you're gonna do for the team, for the sponsors. The load uh, is quite big mentally and physically for the weekend. And yeah, I did have butterflies, and I was excited. I was nervous. And the worst thing was that on my first race on Sunday morning, I woke up with a food poisoning. So I
Oof.
got a loose stomach. I was pale as a ghost, but I survived. Like once I got in the car, once the race started, then you don't think about it. So yeah, not the easiest first race, but I think I managed to out qualify my teammate and
Yep.
finish ahead of him in my first race, which was yeah, pretty good starting point.
Yeah, finished 14th. I've got it written here. Pastor Maldonado, your teammate, finished 15th. Before we move off Australia, can you give me, obviously, an Australian Grand Prix winner? Take me round. Take me around the track from in the car. If you're describing, right, here I am on the start, can you take me around the track and what you're physically doing, what gear you're in, what speed you're doing, what you're looking out for around that Albert Park circuit? Can you put yourself in your mind in that position on that track?
I can, like corner by corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll whack.
yeah,
I can whack. I'm not going to do the sound effects, but there, you're in the car on the start line.
yeah,
Off you go.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, heading into the first corner is actually quite bumpy. Then you braking pretty late, around 50-meter board or just before. It's so bumpy that actually your vision is slightly blurred when you turn in. But then eventually you're going to see the apex clearly. When things settle down, immediately you get in power out of the turn two. Um,
Yep.
I don't normally calculate gears, so I'm not going to go through that. I almost do it automatically in my head. And the first DRS straight into turn three, another bumpy braking. Before you turn in, there's no curb on the left side, so you want to use all the track, but you don't want to drop your wheel on the left. It's pretty straightforward, slow corner, but you want to prepare for the next corner, turn four, because you want a good exit. Because then turn five, right-hander is just enough flowing that is flat. So that's why if you get a good exit from turn four, you're going to carry all that speed into the next corner. Which after they changed the track has become actually a really quick right-hander. We've seen some few shunts there
Yeah.
over the years, and I think last year this George had a bit of an off there. And yeah, then you go into the back straight, which now is longer than before, to the best part, which is the I don't know the corner number, but you know when you're coming around back straight, this really high speed chicane, first left, then right. Yeah, huge G-force. Visibility is quite poor because it's so quick. And then to the last bit of a straight, again with DRS. And the last sector, you got first the right-hander, which is kind of medium speed, pretty straightforward. You just want to brake as late as possible. And then another right-hander, which is really fast. It's only a tiny lift. And by this time, let's say on a qualifying lap, your tires are cooking. So you're kind of drifting away a bit. And then the last one is the last two corners is the left one before the final corner, which is very easy to lock up. Also because of the reason what I said about the tires, the tire temps are really high. So it's you really need to be cautious on the brakes, but carry good speed. And the final corner, you just send it and use all the track on the exit. That's about it.
It's a great description. A couple of questions from that. How do you train, or is it just purely being in the car? How do you train your body to deal with the G forces in a Formula One car?
The more you can drive, the better. That's for sure. And over the years, you build up kind of a tolerance. But yeah, it's basically because the race can be up to 2 hours, so you do need the cardio. But then, especially before the season starts, you got to train at the gym. So you need a strong core, strong back, strong neck. That's the main thing.
So what weight do you typically race at?
So normally, let's say like my morning weight without much clothes is about 70, 71. That's been
Wow.
pretty standard for some years. Yeah, nowadays the weight is not as critical as it used to be.
And once you're in the car, talk me through because like we see the steering wheel, Valtteri. I'm going right. Badger, I think they call it in England when you really go into something, or a nuffy we call it here in Australia. Talk me through starting a Formula One car. You're on the grid, you've got cars around you. You're completing the formation lap. What is going on to get that car off the launch successfully?
So it's a manual start. There's no automatic systems. It's a hand clutch. You basically get to your after formation lap, get to your spot. You want to choose all the settings in terms of brake bias, engine modes for the race start. Then you've got to target all revs of the engine, so you can't obviously go full gas. You're kind
Yep.
of targeting about I would say about 25% of the throttle, and then you drop the clutch, but not fully. So we do quite a bit of practice starts throughout the weekend, and that's when the engineers they can identify to which percentage you want to drop the clutch for the
Oh,
initial launch. So then we practice that before the race start. Like let's say you've got to drop into 40%. So we practice, and hopefully at the race start on the initial bit with your ideal hold reps, you drop it into 40%. And as you get going, let's say after 1.5, 2 seconds, you then slowly start to release the clutch, but still maintaining the same throttle position. And once your clutch is fully engaged, then you can pick up the power and you go from there. But it all obviously happens in quite a short time.
and when it is happening in a short time, like we sit there and I listen to Martin Brundle and he'll say, "Oh well, Bottas went across the front of Ricardo there, or Hamilton should have moved aside to Alonso." But when you look at the cars and how low you are and how small the mirrors are, how much of an awareness do you have of the cars around you? Is it sight? Is it touch? Is it feel? Is it a bit of luck? Like when you're jockeying off on that first lap, how do you know what lane to take?
Yeah, that is tricky. There's for sure quite a decent blind corner, let's say, because the mirrors are small. From the side, we've got the headrest, even the side pods of the cars, they are quite a bit bigger than some years ago. So it's very limited vision. And that's why you're quite often going with your gut and you're guessing. You try to look in the mirrors like before you start to break into the corner if you see anybody, but then you try to vision where the guys are around you. Obviously ahead you can see, but example, we can't see our front wing in the car. We can't see the nose, so the distance to the car ahead is kind of you're going with the gut. So
There's pretty strong personalities involved, obviously. If you're involved in an incident, whether it's your fault, perceived, the other driver's fault, do you have a discussion with the other driver? Like, do you see him at the airport, or shoot him a text message, or see him at a driver's meeting and say, you know what, mate, I saw it like this, you saw it like that, or is it doesn't play out that way?
it depends of the incident. I've been in both situations that, yeah, I mean, if it's something pretty straightforward, um, yeah, you always talk about it. But if it's a bit more complicated or both are still very angry to each other, then you might wanna wait a day or two. But normally, eventually, everything is settled. But it really depends of the incident.
So, mate, things go really well for you at Williams. You get a podium, finish fourth in the championship, and then at the end of 2016, Nico Rosberg wins the world title and retires, and your world gets turned upside down. Just from your perspective, what happened at that stage of your career?
That was kind of the moment that every driver dreams of, to be able to get a chance to get into a winning car, to a winning team, which allows you to fight for the championship. So, yeah, obviously, immediately with the news that Nico was retiring, I called Toto like everyone did, and he was just like, yeah, I need a bit of time. Everyone is calling me, and yeah, we need to think. So. Yeah, they had their meetings and board meetings and all that, and then yeah, they ended up having me as I had pretty good initial years with Williams, and with that car, I could show some good speed. So yeah, it was pretty crazy times.
So tell me about the change in size of team firstly, where you go from Williams, who, in the Villeneuve Hill, Alan Jones days was a powerhouse, but I guess, as a smaller team now to a full mark with Mercedes? Like, what's the difference in the size of the team and the people and the budget and the whole operation? And what's it like to step into that?
It was quite a big step. Definitely good to see that the team had more resources, more people. That was probably the biggest thing, but and quite a different mindset. Obviously, they had to come from already winning the championship quite a few years in a row. So just the mindset is there that nothing is good except winning, and that was everyone's mentality. Um, and of course, with that, there comes the pressure. They expect everyone in the team, especially the drivers, to deliver every single weekend. And for me as well, yeah, I knew that's going to be the chance for me to fight for race wins, fight for the title, which is obviously the main goal in your career. So of course, then I put myself under quite a bit of pressure as well, especially in the first couple of years.
What does that mean? Put yourself under pressure. Explain that to me.
I was too harsh on myself. Let's say the first 2 years, because I wanted to win the championship like immediately, and when that didn't happen, I was really, yeah, I was struggling. Like, yeah, any small mistake that I made, I was just very, very critical of myself, which is a good thing in a way. But at the same time, like, if I could go back in time, I would give myself a bit more leash and a bit more time to, go up against Lewis. And yeah, um, like the first year was kind of okay. 2017, I got a couple of wins. Yeah, some poles. Yeah, managed to get my first win, and yeah, didn't obviously win the championship. That was fine because it is the first year with the team. But then 2018, I was like, okay, that's it. But it ended up being a very tough season for me with actually no wins. Did quite a few mistakes, but it was a lot of it was down, I think, myself, just pressuring myself too much and wanting things to happen too quickly.
So, what's a first race win like? You jump in the car. I think you pole for the first time in Bahrain, which is the third race. Then I've written it down here. Your first Grand Prix win. Your fourth race in Russia, which must be Sochi, where they had the Winter Olympics back in the day. As a kid, seeing that go kart and your mum saying you're sitting still to stand on the top step of the podium, you're smiling about it now, which is cool. What's the moment like when you cross the line?
Surreal. I think it took a couple of days to really realize because that had been my childhood dream and for sure my family's dream for a long, long time that this could magically somehow happen. And yeah, when it happens, it's just like when you're standing on the podium on the top step. Um, I kind of thought about the moments when I was a kid watching such as Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher race. They're winning the race, and you couldn't just like imagine being in that position. So yeah, took a couple of days, couple of big nights with my mates again, and and then I realized, okay, yeah, that really happened. And but the thing is, then once you are in that situation, then you just want more. It's like, yeah, I want to feel that again. So you just keep going.
So, what's the difference, Valtteri, in layman's terms, between a middling Formula One car, which you've driven at Williams, the best car in the field at Mercedes, and then when you've gone to Alpha, probably the least powerful car in the field? What's the difference when you get into the Mercedes and you go out for your first qualifying run or your first few races? What are you feeling differently that you're able to do that all of a sudden you're taking it from 13th, 14th to first and second?
It's actually quite subtle differences. The gaps, especially nowadays,
Yeah.
between the teams, between the cars, especially on one lap, they're quite small. So, sometimes we're talking about between the worst and the best car of about 1/10 of a second per corner. And 1/10, is not much. So it's subtle difference, but it all adds up. It doesn't necessarily mean that the good cars that they're easy to drive. Some of the cars I had with Mercedes, they were quite tricky to set up, tricky to drive, but they were still fast. So yeah, pretty subtle. But let's see this year once I get to do some testing after last year, which was probably the worst car I had in my career. will be interesting to jump into the Mercedes at the test and have a feel. But it's fine details, to be honest.
There's different ways to look at things. As I said to you right at the start, before we started recording, this podcast is about positivity. So you've won 10 Formula One Grand Prix. I actually did the numbers, mate. There's been 778 Formula One drivers in the history of the sport. Okay. And only 30 of those 778 have had 10 or more wins. So there's for the number of wins, there's only 30 in front of you of all time, which is puts you in an elite field. And then they say, oh, well, yeah, but he had a great car. But of those 10 wins, you beat statistically and in many people's eyes the best driver of all time for those 10 wins in the same car. So there's a lot of positives and a lot of benefits and a lot of wow to that to me when I look at it statistically like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, of course, when I joined Formula One, and to this date, the target always was to win the title. Yes, I
Yep.
haven't done that. Got pretty close. I've been second twice. But yeah, if I look at certain statistics and numbers, could be worse, right? It's been a good ride, and yeah, um, I've also seen this statistic about, I think, points scored. I think I'm
Yep.
pretty high on that because obviously, yeah, what the team wants is always a driver who can consistently score points. So yeah, I've done some good things, so I can be proud. But just the way things ended last year, I still feel like, it's not quite done yet. I still feel like I've got something to give for the sport.
So just hold that thought for a moment. Obviously, this will come out around the Australian Grand Prix, which is going to be the first race of the season. Lewis is going to be red for the first time, which I need to ask you about at some stage. But to 2019, first race of the year, you win the Australian Grand Prix by 20 seconds. And I remember all the commentary around it that the world of F1 hadn't seen anyone dominate Lewis in the same car like that before, as you did at the Australian Grand Prix. Grand Prix. How do you reflect on that race, and how were you able to put together such a performance that day? I don't know where it rates in your race wins, but I would imagine it's pretty high because you dominated the field, mate.
It was my best race of my career so far.
Okay.
So yeah, it rates pretty high. It's just like, I think I started second. I think Lewis was in pole,
Yep.
but I had a good start. And since the first lap, everything just felt very much under control. Um, Easy is maybe not the right word, but just when you feel in control, things just flow and it goes well. And the whole racecraft, everything went just like planned. And I feel like it was probably my best race ever because of the frustration from the year before, which is one of my toughest seasons. And I I really had to do proper reset. I was almost angry to the sport, because of the previous season. I didn't enjoy the sport at all. After the winter break, I think all that negativity and all the almost the anger having a bad season came into this positive energy that I could use in a good way. And yeah, it was, yeah, I don't know. It's brain is funny and sport is funny how it works sometimes. Like when you hit that flow state, it's yeah, it's pretty nice feeling.
We've been talking about Australian expressions here. Your message on the radio, which I listened back to yesterday, was rather pointed. We would say in Australia here, Valtteri, you stuck it up them. That's what we would say. You stuck it up them. You got up on the radio and you stuck it up them. So I think it illustrated where you were at that point, exactly as you're describing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I never planned to give that radio message. It just happened. It was just my emotion. It was like it was targeted to all the critics from the last year that I was thinking about pretty much the whole winter. So yeah, it was, yeah, a bit of an outburst, but it felt good, very good.
It sounded good too. So the obvious question that I haven't asked you, you've seen. Well, I don't know. I don't know who your idea of the best Formula One driver is all time. You can talk about that. Many people view it as Lewis. In your mind, is he the best of all time? And mate, you've had a rare opportunity to see him day to day up close. We've been very privileged to have him on this podcast in the past. What is it about Lewis that makes him so good? Why has he got 7 titles under his belt?
I would say Lewis. I think Max is obviously getting up there. I think he's being getting better and better each year, and I think the next years will show what he's capable of achieving. But yeah, if you look at the numbers, Lewis is up there, and seeing him as my teammate, I think the biggest thing is what people don't know. He works, I think, harder than any driver on the grid. He
Yeah.
works really hard behind the scenes. Sometimes it might seem like, yeah, he goes to fashion shows or does a bit of a party somewhere or does random things, but it's only 1% of his life. I think the rest 99% is Formula One and working with the team. And yeah, almost every race, every evening, he's the last driver to leave the paddock because he just keeps asking the engineers about more stuff and I don't know. I feel like it's just got a bit more capacity to take in stuff because there's so much data, so much information that for me personally, there's a point that okay, that's it's too much. You got to prioritize certain things, how much you can take in, but he just keeps digging more and more, and it's just how he is. So that's why I still think he's best so far in the sport.
You were sort of talking about that you were hard on yourself. So, as an athlete that's won all the way through, and you've been the best teammate the whole way, otherwise you're not getting to Formula One. You've beaten your teammate. Mentally, what type of adjustments do you have to make to turn up to the racetrack every day, knowing, right, well, the guy I'm next to is probably the best of all time. I have to be at my absolute best today. Like, how do you approach that form of competition mentally within your own team?
It's pretty natural, like we spoke earlier. I've been racing pretty much all my life, so it's
Yep.
just like once you turn up, you're there to do your absolute best. And in the end, what I've learned, that's all you can do. If you try to do more than that, the stopwatch is not going to like. So in this sport, you learn so much about yourself, and especially the mental side of things, like how to be in the right mindset. But yeah, in a nutshell, you just give everything you have, but not more than that, pretty much.
And then how do you stay mentally at the top of your game, Valtteri? So you go from Mercedes, you go to the best car, and then you move to another team where you move to Alpha, and you've gotten to the other end of the grid. How do you turn up to work on a Friday and say, right, I'm on here, this is my job, knowing if you drive the race of your life in Melbourne, you win the Grand Prix by 20 seconds. If you drive the race of your life in the Alpha, you might get to Q2 and you might sneak a point.
Yeah. Yeah, for that, I needed a reset on the goals, on the mindset. And what motivated me, especially when I joined the team, that we had a clear plan for 3 years. Okay, that's where we're now. That's where we want to be in 3 years. So that was the initial motivation. And of course, yeah, I really had to just reset my goals. That was the main thing, and accept that yeah, I'm not gonna win races. I'm not gonna be on the podium at least on the first year, but in hope that that will come in the future with hard work and realizing how rewarding that would be if you get to your targets together as a team as an underdog. But it didn't go quite as planned.
Hmm.
We had a change in the management after first year. Brett went to Ferrari,
Yep.
which is fine because you go there if you get the chance. And yeah, things just after that were not the same. The targets we set together with Fred almost went into the trash can, and then it was just like, yeah, I did turn up, I did my work the best I could, trying to motivate the people. And in my head, then the motivation was to show to the team that I'm the right guy to be in the Audi project, which I always got told that that is the plan. So that's why I kept trying. And also for myself, I don't do things with 50%. If I do something, I want to do it well.
So you haven't been given the opportunity at this point in the Audi project. How do you deal with? We've talked about the success. How do you deal with it when things don't go the way you want, mate?
It's hard, of course, but that's the sport. It's always ups and downs, and yeah, especially when things start to go south, that's when you just remind yourself of the big picture of the sport. That yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is for every driver, every team. You get your ups and downs, and you just try and think about the future. For me, always thinking about the future, that has been the motivating factor.
So talking about the future, you've got a beautiful partner in Tiffany. You're running businesses with the gin and the wine. You've won 10 Formula One races. You've been on pole 20 times. You've been mega successful. I'm sure you've got a few dollars in the bank. You're a test driver now this season. Why? Like, why do you want to push on? And what is the path to get back into a seat in your mind?
Um, I want to decide myself when my Formula One career ends.
Okay.
And just the end of last year, kind of falling in between two seats for different reasons, it just left the bad taste in my mouth, So for me, the best chance still to be in the sport is to be with a good team that I know, which is Mercedes, and have a good role. I can contribute a lot to the team. I can do some testing, some simulator work, be present at every race weekend. And in this sport, you just don't know what happens. And so yeah, for me, in my head, I want to be a race driver in 26. Um, because, like I said, just feel like I'm not done yet. I still have something more left in the tank. But also, I got to think about the chance that what if not? Then I'm also fine with it. At least I've tried. And then after that, there would be some other things, other racing categories. Um, there's some in the US, there's some in Australia. But in any case, yeah, with all the stuff happening, how my life is, how everything's well balanced, I'm not going to be left on emptiness. There's always stuff to do. So I'm really fine with the situation. And it's actually an exciting season because in my head, there's just many unknowns. You never know what happens, and also figure out 26 within this year is going to be kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm in a good place at the moment.
I think so many fans listening to this hope to see you in a Formula One car again. So as the test driver, the reserve driver for Mercedes. So it's obvious that if something happens to George or Kimi, like happened to Carlos when he had the appendix, then you're the man to step in. I've been trying to read it and understand it. Can you be loaned to other teams? So, like when Dan Ricciardo busted his hand, right, and he's out for 5 races. If that happened to, say, that happened to, heaven forbid, a Lando or a Oscar, does it work that you're allowed to be loaned into another car, or it doesn't work like that?
Yeah, all the Mercedes power unit
Right.
users, they're pretty united. So yes, I can be loaned. So I think they could be opportunities. So we'll see.
You mentioned in Australia, you'd be a hit with that mullet up at Bathurst in a V8 supercar. I've no doubt they've approached you numerous times. It's one of the great racetracks of the world. I can see you in one of those tin tops at some point.
Yeah, I think it's definitely for me. It's bucket list stuff is to do that event. Maybe not quite yet, but yeah, for sure one day, no doubt.
What do you think Netflix has done to your sport? Because you were there pre-Netflix and you're there since Drive to Survive, and it's just brought so many new fans to the sport. How have you seen it change as a result?
Yeah, a lot of new fans, different kind of audience. I think also younger audience, especially in the US and Australia. I've seen pretty big boom in F1, and yeah, if you look at the spectator numbers at Melbourne Grand Prix in the last 5 or 6 years, it's been just going up. They sell out the tickets faster and faster every year. So it's pretty cool to see. And even having 3 races in the US, they all the three of them they are popular versus like before Netflix, we only had one in Austin, and it was a bit of hit and miss. Sometimes
Mm.
it was like grandstands half empty, but it's done. I think a lot of good for the sport. Only negative thing would be all the traffic jams getting to the track. With more people attending, but that's pretty much it. So,
Surely there's a queue for the choppers and you just chopper it in and then chopper it out.
No, we don't really use choppers. But I found a way. It's my bicycle quite often
Very
in
good.
the races. Is you can cut the traffic. So
And how do you deal, or how do you approach being a hero to many, many people? Like you're a dude who grew up, as you said, in southern Finland, small town, and now due to your capabilities, like at any racetrack in the world, people are incredibly devoted. I've spent time at the Japanese Grand Prix where they go just crazy, or in Italy or here in Australia. How do you deal with it when kids and adults come up and want your autograph, and especially kids that look up to you and say, hopefully I can do what you're doing one day?
if I can make somebody's day or week, or sometimes it feels like somebody's month or year, it makes me happy. It's I remember as a kid when I met example Kimi Räikkönen for the first time. I was doing go-karting, and he visited one of the go-kart races, and it's just inspiring as a kid. So if I can make somebody happy with a simple thing, it gives me also something. So yeah, for sure, sometimes it gets pretty hectic, but yeah, you always got to remember that yeah, some people it can really make a difference, which is yeah, really really cool.
How hectic does it get? Give me an example where you've been in a crowd where they've just been losing their mind because you've been there.
Um, some airports, like after the race, if you got an evening flight, with all the fans and stuff, like, yeah, you gotta rush through. Like people are just coming, covering you, asking for pictures, autographs, and especially if you're in a rush, sometimes it's, not that enjoyable. But and yeah, of course, getting to the track where it is very much just F1 fans, it's pretty hectic. And yeah, one example from this Christmas on the 24th in Adelaide, the main shopping street. I was trying to do some Christmas shopping middle of the day, and it was like after 20 meters, somebody would take a selfie, like 20 meters selfie, 20 meters selfie. So yeah, sometimes it's a bit much, but it's all good. So
But mate, Rundle Mall in Adelaide, where you're talking about, like the mullet is
yeah,
98% of the population, to be fair.
it is pretty much.
We always finish this podcast the same way, Valtteri. It's been such a privilege to chat with you. Can't wait to see you at the Race of Champions, 7th of H of March. You can get tickets now at Ticketek, a core stadium. There's all sorts of tickets you can buy there. We always finish the same way, mate. For all the kids that are listening to this podcast, and we're lucky to have a lot of children listen to this, and they might be on the way. I use different examples. They might be on the way to the go-kart track, or they might be on the way to a science fair or cricket track. Do you know what cricket is? Yeah, are you across the cricket?
Yeah, I know what Creed is. Yeah, I actually haven't been to a game yet, but it's on the list. So,
Well, get yourself to the Adelaide Oval. So, for all those kids that are hoping to
yeah.
achieve something like you have achieved tremendous success in your career, what advice would you give them, Valtteri?
Um, Enjoy every moment. Be present. And yeah, don't be too harsh on yourself. I would say that's the main thing. But number one is enjoy every single moment, all the highlights. If you hit your targets, you've worked hard for it. Just make sure you enjoy it.
Valtteri, you're a star. I appreciate all your time here on the Howie Games. Hopefully, we see you at the Melbourne Grand Prix and in a Formula One car very soon. And after that, racing around Bathurst, Mount Panorama, or in the States. Either way, mate, great to speak with you. Look after yourself and travel safely.
Thank you, mate.